Welcome back, all you crazy KBS'ers. You just can't get enough, can you? You can't. You just can't get enough. Admit it. Admit it. We're back. We're live. And we are chilling out. Kick back. Relax. Leave all of your belief systems at the door. Politics, leave it in the front garden. Because today we're just kicking back. We're relaxing. We're not fighting. We're not arguing. We're just chilling out. And I've got absolutely zero planned for today's stream, so let me give my usual disclaimer at the start of this. If you've got anything more interesting to do, possibly like watching paint dry or watching your toenails grow, maybe that would be a more productive way to spend your time than what I've got planned or not planned for your next 60 minutes or so. So yes, you have been warned. We're just chilling out. We're going to take a look at some of the stuff I've been eyeing over today. Found a great video. Didn't find it. I got sent it by our good friend Sidvich. It gets right into the whole disclosure discussion that we've been having lately on the show, on the streams here. Very interesting. So I'll be able to take a look at that. I'll link you up. Don't worry. I've got you covered. We're going to take a look at one of the weirdest stories I've come across in a long time. I had to double check. It wasn't a late April Fool. And I wasn't the April Fool, but it's funny. Oh, it's hilarious. It's things you'll wonder, how did we get here as a species without something like this up until this point? It's things that make you go, when did this become a thing? But we're also going to take a little look at some UFO woo, some ancient files. Yes, we're dusting off the cold cases on the UFOs. Well, I found a couple of stories about UFOs. I'm trying to make it sound more dramatic than it is. I really can't sell it. I can't sell it. But we've got Conspiracy Kyle in the chat room. Now, that name rings a bell with me. Yesterday would have been a more apt day for Conspiracy Kyle to turn up because he is a May the 4th be with you kind of guy. He gets into all of the Star Wars lore and conspiracy. Yes, indeed. And Kyle, I need to message you on Twitter or somewhere like that, and we'll get you hooked up, dude. Because I'm keen to have you come onto the show and blow the audience's mind. Charlie Robinson, who I've got a story about Charlie in a moment, dang. But Charlie actually recommended Conspiracy Kyle to KBS a number of shows ago when I was hanging out with Charlie. And he told me it's going to be one of the best shows. I need to do it. It's going to be a rare treat. I'm a sci-fi buff, as you all know, but surprisingly enough, I'm not one of these aficionados that knows all of the lore, all of the parallels between something like the Star Wars story and the real world. So I'm going to be really interested to get that hooked up. Definitely, let's do it, dude. I'm really wanting to do that. So drop me a DM over on Twitter, or I'll drop you one either after the stream or probably after today's show. And that's where we're going to start today, right? Because today's show, it's featuring two of my favorites. Yes, two of my favorites. We have got Charlie Robinson, and Jimmy Jeans is going to be coming on as a guest / co-host. Now, this is where the funny story really kicks in, because it would appear that I've had a psychotic episode, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm going to admit it. Not many of your content creators out there will admit when they have a psychotic episode, but I've had one. I think I've had one. Because I had somehow convinced myself that Charlie Robinson was going to be on today's show. And it turns out he very well might be, because he's seen the Twitter post, and he was as surprised as anyone to find out that he was down for today's show, because it turns out me and Charlie actually organised it for next week. Now, when I went to look at the calendar last night after Nano Girl had been on the show, I distinctly remember seeing Charlie Robinson's name for today. And I thought to myself, I've gone and kind of double booked because we know Jimmy comes on a Wednesday night. But I thought, well, that's okay, because Jimmy and Charlie have done a show together recently. So it'll be good chemistry, right? So myself and Nano, we looked through the dates. We made sure we had all the dates down that she was going to come on. Sorted, right? And I obviously went away to my bed quite confident in the fact that I was going to be joined by Charlie Robinson today. So I gets up and I does all my thing with the art, the graphic. I put it out there. You know, I'm looking forward to getting into his octopus. Yes, I like to get into Charlie's octopus. It sounds a lot more intimate than I really intended it ever to be. And I like to deal with his macro aggressions. To think, boom, see? We've even got jokes and everything, right? But I done the post. I sent it out there. And I started to look through some stuff for a pre-show stream, and it just wasn't happening. And it wasn't happening, right? Because there was something in my mind saying, nah, something's wrong somewhere. There's a disturbance in the force if we go along with some Kyle-like metaphors here, right? There was definitely a disturbance. I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And then I got an alert on my spy phone. Oh, did I say spy phone? I mean iPhone. And it told me the Baldy one. Yes, he, the Brotherhood of No Hair, has emailed me. And I thought, well, there's Charlie's talking points for today then, because Charlie's one of the best guests out there. He's like Nano Girl. He comes prepped for action. He really does. Only when I opened the email, he was saying how surprised he was to find out he was on the show today. But no biggie. He could be there. He's available. And that's when I decided to look back at the Google Calendar that last night, in my mind's eye, I can still see it reliably informing me that Charlie was today. Only Charlie wasn't down for today anymore. Charlie's name had moved to the time that, now that I think about it, I distinctly remember organising for next Tuesday. Because I was starting to think, if we have Nano Girl one Tuesday, and then she's back in a fortnight, wouldn't it be great if we could get a Charlie or a Ben Emlyn Jones or one of our other regular guests to fill in on the non-Nano Tuesdays? And by golly, I don't know if I've gone psychotic, if I've gone mad. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if there's like somebody... You see, it gets ridiculous if I get paranoid, because if you're going to hack into somebody's computer, I think you could do a lot more damage than change where Charlie Robinson's booking appears on your schedule, right? You feel me? So no, I'm not saying it's spooks, and I'm not saying it's anything nefarious, unless I've woke up on a different timeline. Now, we've had this conversation before, right? I tell you, remember the woman we done the story on where she woke up with the wrong pajamas and the wrong sheets on? I felt like that earlier on today. I had a distinct impression that I might be in a different world. Even Anne's been asking me, what's wrong with you today? It's just something I can't put my finger on it, ladies and gents. I can't. There's weirdness in the air. Yes, there is. But I deal in the weird, so I shouldn't be surprised when I attract it to me. But with that said, let us move on our magical mystery tour of random nothingness. Because there's nothing planned, even though I've got a pile of tabs open. I suppose that is pre-planned, really. I've lied. Again, what can I say? No wonder people call me a shill, right? But another thing coming up that I want to put your attention onto, I thoroughly enjoyed it the last time. I've been present at the past two online conferences of our friends Evan and Stephen Strong, our alien ancestry, what comes next online conference. We've got Omar Faizi, Chris Blackmore, Stephen Cummins, and of course the brilliant Stephen and Evan Strong are all going to be talking. So we've got that there. So then, with that said, now the date for that, is the 29th of May if you're not in Australia, and it'll be at midnight in the UK. And if you are in Australia, it'll be the 30th of May at 7 a.m. There you go. Got you covered. So with that said, let me come back over here. Happy Wednesday. So glad you're on. D-Light, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to come back into the room in a minute. I see Jimmy is in there, into the microcosm. Jimmy Jean Strike Zone. That has to be the longest YouTube name ever. Is it? Can we bestow Jimmy as the longest YouTuber name ever? I tell you, man, you've got it nailed. I think you've got it nailed. Anywho, funny story I came across today. Now, when did this become a thing? Now, how many of you out there have opted to keep fish as a pet? I know Johnny Whistles, he was getting into the fish thing. I know our good friend Jules. Jules was making UFOs and Stargates as some of the kind of, what do you call it, fish tank furniture? I don't know what you call stuff you put in a fish tank. But how many times, ladies and gentlemen, how many times, for those of you out there who have owned a fish at one time or another, or own a fish now, how many times have you been stuck in the house because you've not had any way to take the fish out for a walk with you? Admit it. It's one of these things. It's like, why haven't we solved this problem? Well, I'm here to tell you that one genius has solved this problem. Not only can you take cats for a walk wearing clothes nowadays, but you can also take your fish for a walk. I am not making this stuff up. I don't need to. Weird device lets you take your fish for a walk. Yes. Like I say, ladies and gents, I checked. It's not an April Fool. I even went to the website in question and confirmed not an April Fool. But it says here a Japanese firm is developing a portable container that enables you to take your pet fish for a walk. Yes, really. Hey, listen. Look, I'm not knocking it. Did we ever ask the fish? Did anyone consult the fish? Would you like to go for a walk? I'm mocking something that might actually be an actual thing here. I know. Ever wanted to take your pet out for a walk, but your pet happens to be a fish? Many of you, come on, snap poll in the chat room. How many of you have been caught in that conundrum? That fishy little riddle. What does one do? I dare say, if you're actually a person that would like to go for a walk with your pet, probably the first thing you might want to do is consider a pet that can walk. I'm just saying. But like I say, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's fish owners all over the world woke up today thinking, at last. I was actually fearing there might have been people stuck in their houses. You know, anytime I've been to a pet shop and I've looked at the fish, nobody ever warned me that once you buy one, you can't go out ever again because there's no container to take them for a walk. So we might, all these missing people where we think bad things have happened, nefarious stuff. Jenny yesterday, remember all that nefarious things? Maybe they just bought a fish and they're stuck in the house and they can't come out anymore. But moving back to the story here. You've got to laugh at the state of this world, folks. And we're going to be talking about aliens and disclosure in a moment. Can you imagine what an advanced civilization must think when it looks and examines what we're all about? Yes. People take their iguanas for a walk. I used to take my parrot out when he was alive. Zoe, that is utterly tremendous. Now, a parrot as a prop when you go out into public is a pretty good conversation opener. I would go up to somebody with a parrot. I think that would make you a bit of a character. Somebody with a fish in a container that looks like that. I'm thinking not so much. I'm thinking not so much. I don't know. But the parrot, I like, unless you've taught it to say bad things. Yeah, I remember, I can't remember if it was on TV or somebody I knew, but their parrot or a parrot had really kind of thrown a cat amongst the parrots to really ruin that phrase. Because you see, the unfortunate thing with parrots and birds that repeat everything they hear is they're very kind of random about when they repeat stuff. And they can be very, very cheeky as well. So, you know, the moral of the story is if you do have a parrot or even a talking fish, since now fish can walk and go for walks, you know, be careful what you say about people. Because these parrots have got a habit of waiting for that person to show up and then they'll tell that person everything you've been saying. It's not good. They can leave you in very compromising positions, okay? Known as a cat's Sugyo bag, it doesn't even have a cool name. Known as the cat Sugyo bag, the strange device is essentially a self-contained underwater life support system that you can carry about with you like a handbag. Now, women, trust me, you do not want to be really girls, not a good look. Do not swap the handbag for the fish receptacle. Not good. For a start, your phone's going to get wet, okay? It's not going to be very good. Selfies are going to look terrible. And future versions will also incorporate features such as an oxygen gauge and a feeding system. I mean, fuck me, how long are you planning on keeping the fish in there? That's like, it can't be like good for the fish. Remember the other day I was talking about when I was in the MRI and it felt like I was like some kind of human sausage getting irradiated from the inside out? I'm starting to feel a bit of empathy with the fish here. You know? Not good. Who knew I'd go to fight and die in the hill of fish rights? Shh, it's an upside down. I told you it's a new timeline I'm on, folks. It's not working out well for me. Of course, the idea behind this project is actually quite sensible to those people that have been locked in the house for 10 years with a fish. It makes it quite possible for fish, such as expensive pet fish, to be transported from one place to another. Now that's got a very practical use. Up until that point, they made it sound like some kind of bloody fashion accessory. Like this is the next big good thing to have. Like a fish, a real fish. Yeah. Folks, like I said, there's nothing constructive about today's ramblings. It's the random ramblings of a man that no longer knows what world he lives in. I really don't. It's almost like I've given up. I'm just throwing my hands up in the air like I just don't care anymore. You know, I came off Twitter today. I was so fed up seeing argument after non-argument after ridiculous argument. And I thought, I need to get away from that. I'll go over to Discord. And it was the same in there. It was the same. And I'm thinking, no one is safe in this world. But then I remembered we have our little space here where we can laugh at my journey through the madness. But it's nice and safe and we can laugh and chill out and look at goofiness together. But listen, away from the goofiness and back to the ongoing disclosure conversation. Myself and Nano Girl were talking about it last night. Really enjoyed that show with Nano last night. I'm going to be taking a couple of bits out of it, but putting the majority of it onto here on YouTube. And I'll probably put the full thing unedited back on BitChute, as we've been doing lately. But the whole disclosure thing that we were talking about, it's picking up pace now. You know that myself, Scotty, Ben Emlyn Jones, a whole heap of us have been really questioning what's going on since the change in attitude in 2017. And it's not just us asking that. There's a whole heap of people looking at what's going on right now. And the ufology community, people far more educated in all of the UFO woo than I am or ever will be, They've been talking about what they're seeing happening right now. And by right now, I mean how we've got a new player in town. He's not essentially, he's not like really a new player, but he's the newest clearinghouse for official UFO type woo. Now, he's somebody who I must admit I have enjoyed his documentaries, and I haven't said his name yet. I'm gonna, but it's quite obvious. He's the guy that recently had the couple of videos of the green triangle and the other unidentified aerial phenomenon going into the water. His name's Jeremy Corbell. Now, Sidvich, who's somebody who follows a lot more closely all of the wranglings, the information, the discourse, the talk within ufology. He sent me this video today, and it's about 5 hours long. And I can tell you, I'm about 1 hour and 40 minutes into it, and it's compelling. It's really, really interesting. And the name of it, if I bring you over here, it's from a channel called Alien Scientist that we've heard about here on the show before. I've had people talking about this channel. And it's called Jeremy Corbell, paid UFO disinfo agent, question, useful idiot, question, or something else. And I like the question mark things, because this guy here at the top, the alien scientist guy, I really like the way he goes about it. And it's just a conversation. And it's very much along the lines, or it feels along the lines when I watch Alien Scientist, that he's not trying to convince anybody of anything. In fact, he's very interested in the UFOs to get to the actual bottom of what the propulsion they're using. He's looking at it from a scientific standpoint. But the conversation thus far, up to the 1 hour and 40 minutes part that I've got to, it's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant. And they really opened my eyes to that green UFO triangle video that the Pentagon came out and said, yep, we confirm what Corbell's got. It is what it is. Only there's another YouTube channel out there, and I only recently came across it thanks to the guys on the show I just showed you there. And I'll drop the link for that in here right now. But if we come back over here, and I take you to a channel, this guy here, Mick West, okay? He has taken a look at these green triangle videos. I'm going to play this one here. It's only 5 minutes long, but we're only going to listen to a couple of minutes of it. I'm hoping that Mick will allow us that, and he won't strike us for it. I'm playing it because I like what Mick's got to say. I'm not in any way contesting it. I think it adds to the conversation. It presents another hypothesis on what we're seeing when we're looking at these triangles in the sky. And it might not be what everyone thinks it is, folks. And if it isn't, then what's going on? Because you've got a guy releasing videos that the Pentagon are saying is kosher. He's cool. He's good. That's good to go. That's genuine. But if it's genuine and it turns out to be, as I'm about to show you here, hocus pocus and effects that are known within photography using different lenses, you'll see what I'm saying. We've got a big problem, because the official disclosure that we think's going on, there could be something entirely different happening, and I am at a loss as to what it is. When I first seen this triangle video, I admit it, I thought it was pretty good. And then when the Pentagon came out and backed up, I thought, wow, here's our new Tom DeLonge then. Because Tom DeLonge's kind of drifted off the scene, right? He's kind of to the Stars Academy. It's not the main thing you hear about anymore. Still hear about Elizondo, and more we're hearing about Jeremy Corbell. And I've got nothing against Jeremy Corbell. I don't know the guy, never spoke to him. Like I say, I've enjoyed some of his documentaries. So I don't know, folks, but we're going to take a look at this anyway. So here we go.
This video supposedly shows a fleet of pyramid-shaped craft buzzing a US Navy ship. But I think it's probably just a plane and some stars and a camera artifact called bokeh. What are we looking at? The video is from a night vision monocular, which intensifies available light and gives you a green image. It's not recorded with that monocular, but with something like an iPhone held up to the eyepiece. At the start, we can see the ring of the eyepiece. There's some lights in the sky, and then we pan over so we see this pole and a flashing light. They zoom in on the flashing light. Now this zoom isn't done with the monocular zooming. Look at the ring on the eyepiece moving. It's the iPhone zooming with digital zoom, so it does not alter any optical effects in the monocular. So we get zoomed in and we see this green triangle in the center which flashes and two fainter green triangles on the left that don't flash. There's a bunch of other points of light that look like stars in a still frame, but they're...
If we put that back just a bit there, we'll see what he was talking about. Hang on. You see the two other things there right now that I've paused it. Now, speeded it up a little bit, okay? Speed it up a little bit. We're not going to play all of it, but I'm going to link it in the chat for people to go and check out as well. Because again, I've only really been kind of looking at this, and I don't know how real this is, how legitimate or how good a debunk it is, because I've only really come across it today myself. So I'm going to link this in the chat room right now. There you go.
On the left that don't flash. There's a bunch of other points of light that look like stars in a still frame, but they're just flickering noise that changes from frame to frame. We then zoom in a bit more on the green triangle, see it flash a few times, and then one other green triangle, done flashing, drifts past, and that's it. The first thing to notice is the flashing of the light. There are two flashes at different rates, a bright one every 1.5 seconds, and a dimmer one about every 1.25 seconds. These are basically the rates of flash for standard aircraft navigation lights. 1.5 seconds is the red anti-collision strobe.
You know, if we pause it there as well, if you are some kind of alien craft, isn't it really considerate of them to have like landing lights and lights on them, just so that other planes and things can't don't miss them? I don't know. I find that quite unbelievable, to be honest with you. You know, hey, maybe they do. Maybe it's like a universal thing, right? Doesn't matter what planet you go to. Maybe it's just like the Universal FAA, right? Or the Universal Aviation Association. Maybe they make people, or all species, all airborne planets. So you have to comply to the flickering of the lights. I don't know. Or is it something that's ours?
There are two flashes at different rates, a bright one every 1.5 seconds, and a dimmer one about every 1.25 seconds. These are basically the rates of flash for standard aircraft navigation lights. 1.5 seconds is the red anti-collision strobe, and 1.25 seconds is consistent with a wingtip strobe. There are also other standard lights on a plane that are on all the time. So the lighting matches a normal human plane. But if it's just a plane, why is it shaped like a triangle of light? Planes are generally high up, so the lights will be close together, appearing almost like one dot. When a dot of light is out of focus, it shows up as a shape of light called a bokeh. These can be round, or the shape of the camera aperture. If the camera has an aperture that was triangle-shaped, then that would explain the shape of the bokeh. However, I can't find one yet that looks like that in night vision binoculars, which often don't have an aperture at all, as they want all the light to come in. But if something were in the front of the camera, then that can alter the shape of the bokeh. Here I put a triangle over the lens, and now we have triangle-shaped bokeh. Why would someone take their lens like that? Sometimes people do it for artistic effect, but it turns out there's a serious reason to do it for night vision goggles. It improves focus in certain situations. So there are aftermarket adapters that fit over the front, but people sometimes make their own. Sometimes they drill holes in lens caps. Sometimes they make covers using tape, like this square one, which would easily make diamond-shaped bokeh, just one step away from triangles or pyramids.
Now, I've linked that in the chat room. I'm not going to play all of it. Fair use, I hope, because we are talking about this subject. I refer everyone over to Mick's channel to check that out. I'm not telling you to believe what Mick is saying. I'm saying, though, if we're going to look at things like the UFOs, we have to look at all sides. We have to look at who's presenting it. And then we have to wade through all the different kind of theories and takes on the evidence that's presented. And I must admit, I can see Karen saying it in the chat room as well. Big shout out to you, Gherkin. But that's something that when I've seen these types of UFOs, usually with the night vision, and it's not all the time, but sometimes when they've got that kind of flashing light, for me, in my mind, and it shouldn't affect anything you think or feel or go on to have an opinion on, but I just find it kind of weird how, you know, if you're some kind of covert force, they're not exactly flying over masses of crowds wanting to be seen, right? In fact, you'd argue that they try not to be seen. Then why on earth would you have some kind of strobing light on the bottom of your craft? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too logical with that one, possibly. Now that doesn't mean that everything that's coming out of the Pentagon right now is bogus. We have to take everything on a case by case basis and then somehow step back from it all and try and figure out what the hell's going on. And at the same time, like any good information analyst, still manage to spend enough time looking at other topics as well. Because what is it they say about a distraction? Anything can be a distraction. It's you that invests the time into it that makes it a distraction. So with that said, we'll move on. We'll take a look at some really distracting UFO stories that I found today. Now, these are ones I dug up the headline. I'm going to admit right now, I didn't read hardly anything to do with it. But it's UFOs. And I thought, well, if we're going to chill out today, I might as well pull them back up. And of course, don't forget, I'll be going live with Jimmy, and hopefully it will be Charlie, in about 27 minutes time, 37 minutes time. So don't go anywhere, okay? I have still got a couple of things to bore you with before we get there and warm myself up. I need to be in the mood. Joining the two amigos. Oh, it's going to be a conversation with no holds barred today. You know what Charlie's like, you know what Jimmy's like, and you know what I'm like when I don't have an algorithm to worry about. Oh, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. As is a story here about a CIA document revealed the alien attack that turned 23 Soviet soldiers into stone. Now, disclaimer, I don't know how true this is. I don't know how true it is, but with a headline like that, we cannot ignore it. Not here. Not in the woo zone, right? We can't. We just can't. So the KGB was once the most powerful security agency in the world, and it played an essential role in turning the Soviet Union into world power until its breakup in 1991. And isn't it interesting how the world, since 1991, has turned into something that looks like the KGB made it? I'm just saying. According to the ufologists, they unearthed a frightening CIA document on the official website of the CIA in which science fiction had come to real life. Now, this is another thing I should mention as well. And I'm guilty of it as anyone, but confirmation bias, right? The minute the CIA start putting things out on their server and they stroke our biases, they tell us, yes, you're on the right track here. Look at our UFO stories we've got. And we love it. We think, yes, look, the CIA is telling us. But we immediately forget that this is the same group that blow smoke up our tuchus on every other thing out there. They're spies. Anything you see coming from the CIA, anything you see on their server has been hand-selected and picked, and it's there for a reason. And I know it sounds really paranoid, that, but you have to ask yourself when you come across these very, as Jimmy would call them, seductive type articles. The kind of things that ufologists like me and you would just, salivate over. We have to think, why? Why would the people that we think keep all of this hidden from us? Why are they giving us these little chestnuts? And I don't have an answer for you. I don't. But with that said, it's good to get into. It's good because we make I don't hide the fact that on a pre-show stream, we almost suspend all of our beliefs. We set sail, and off in the horizon, we can see Speculation Island. Yes, indeed. Arrival time will be about 34 minutes now, and the captain of the ship will be Jimmy Jeans today. I'm only joking. I'm the captain of the KBS'ers Titanic. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? I like that. So anyway, back to our document here. And there's me thinking I had nothing to talk about. According to ufologists, there we go, a set of declassified CIA files has revealed the shocking fate faced by a bunch of KGB soldiers when they encountered a UFO during the peak time of the Cold War. It is believed that 23 Soviet soldiers were turned into stone in an alien attack. It should be noted that these documents were actually dissolved by the USSR President Mikhail Gorbachev in 1991, and due to the collapse of the USSR, many secret KGB documents fell into the hands of a wide range of people, including the CIA. Now, in the documents, Gorbachev himself reveals that UFOs do exist, and thorough investigation is needed to unravel the mystery surrounding these flying objects. Now, Gorbachev is interesting because he was president at the time when Ronald Reagan made that speech. What if we face some outside alien threat, you know? And I don't know how true it is, but I've heard people saying that after Reagan had made that speech to the UN, people had asked Gorbachev about what he thought about Reagan and the aliens and things. And again, I don't know if this is true or not, but the story goes that Gorbachev said, I totally agree with him, just his timing is wrong. Make of that what you will. Maybe it's just one of those conspiracy tropes. Maybe it's made up out of nowhere. Maybe it's factual. I don't know. Sure adds to the woo, right? So we come down here. Now, if this is now that's terrifying. If anyone's been turned into anything that looks like that, we should not mock it, right? Back in 1993, an unspecified Ternopil newspaper, and that's Ukraine, published an article allegedly about an extraterrestrial attack on a soldier of a military base in Siberia, referred to by the KGB documents. And it goes on to say Russians shoot down UFO. Angry aliens turn Soviet soldiers into stone. Now, in the latter, it was mentioned that there was a 250-page folder of the KGB about the incident with photos of the people that were deceased and pictures of the UFO itself. However, the date of this incident was not mentioned anywhere. It is believed that it all started with a flying saucer that once appeared in the sky over an unspecified military base somewhere in Siberia. And interestingly, one of the people did not think of anything better than how to launch a ground-to-air rocket into it. The unidentified flying saucer, suddenly being hit by a rocket, was damaged and it fell nearby. However, the pilots of the craft did not suffer, and they got furious because of the unexpected attack. They left their ship, after which they attacked the soldiers at the base. Now, allegedly, only 2 soldiers survived the extraterrestrial attack, and 23 soldiers were turned into stone with an incomprehensible weapon. Now, let's face it, folks, if there's a weapon out there that turns people into stone, that's the kind of thing that we would go, that's something out of like some kind of magical story, something out of the movies, right? Because it's technology so far removed and different from ours that it's going to appear like magic. We wouldn't be able to wrap our head around that. But is there something out there that could be turned into stone when you fire something at it? I don't know. I've heard of the CIA's heart attack gun, but now the Russians, well, there's information here about a granite gun. I don't know what you'd call that. CIA report on, so there is there's the actual report. But it says the survivors of the extraterrestrial attack described that there were 5 attackers in total, and the aliens were short in height, and they had large heads and 2 large black eyes. The strange weapon with which they attacked the soldiers with were buzzing loudly, and it looked like a bright ball of light. And what happened after the attack, or how the 2 soldiers managed to escape the attack, is not described in the document. It is mentioned in the CIA document that the petrified bodies of soldiers were sent to a secret research center near Moscow. Experts suggest an unknown source of energy instantly changed the structure of the human body, turning it into a substance whose molecular structure was no different from limestone. The CIA agent made a special note at the end of the document. If these KGB documents are real, then this is an extremely threatening case. The aliens possess weapons and technologies that go beyond all of our assumptions. What are the CIA's assumptions about their weapons? sounds to me like it's already a thing that they deal with and talk about all the time. What do you think? Did the attack happen for real, which turned soldiers into stone? I've no idea, and there's probably no way of ever confirming or knowing what the heck happened there. But don't worry about that, because I've got more. A UFO with Soviet symbols engraved on it was found in Svalbard. So, Svalbard, the Norwegian archipelago, lies in the cold grey expanses of the Arctic Ocean north of continental Europe. And I wonder if Sidvich knows all about this story, our Norwegian friend. Big fan of the Russians, is Sid, as am I. The majority of its landmass is covered with glaciers, traversed with numerous fjords, and shrouded in an almost perpetual night during the cold winter months. It is a sparsely populated, largely untouched realm of majestic natural beauty, and it's also the site of a series of extremely bizarre alleged UFO crashes. So the first of the two alleged UFO crashes in Svalbard allegedly happened in 1946. Now, I find that year quite interesting, right? Because you're talking about just after World War II, when as many scientists went to the east as they did in Paperclip to the west, right? So are we looking at what maybe some of the bad guys from World War II, some of that science, some of that technology now in the hands of the Russians? I don't know, just thinking aloud. So it allegedly happened in 46 when US General James Doolittle, a great uncle of the world-renowned vet Dr. Doolittle, um, he speaks to the animals. We're going to have an animal whisperer on the show soon. And I promise not to call them Dr. Doolittle. However, was sent there by Shell Oil to investigate the strange air phenomena observed from time to time in the area. Now, these phenomena were termed as ghost missiles by the military. Oh boy, ghost missiles, ghost ships. Later, journalist Dorothy Kilgallen claimed that General Doolittle, he talks to the animals. As long as that's all you're doing to the animals, Doolittle, I'm watching you. Had discovered a mysterious object on the shores of Svalbard, an alleged UFO that fell from the sky. This object was taken aboard the American ship USS Alabama, and then the government of the US and Great Britain carefully classified everything that was associated with the alleged discovery. Now, unfortunately, Dorothy passed away in 1965, and now it is no longer possible to know from whom she received all this information and whether there was at least something truthful in it, or it was all nothing more than rumours. However, in 1952, the story of UFO activity over Svalbard unexpectedly continued. In June 1952, a squadron of 6 Norwegian jet aircraft began summer manoeuvres over Svalbard. As they raced on over the Chinlopen Strait, their radios began to cackle and emitted a static charge. They didn't cackle, they crackled. It wasn't... That'd be really ominous, wouldn't it, if you're flying along and like a witch's cackle came out of the radio? Holy begolly. It'd be cool to see if the witches, if they've got a flashing strobe that complies with FAA standards as well. You know, like your average spaceship from Alpha Centauri, as they do. The radios got shut down completely without any reason, leaving them unable to communicate with each other. Surprisingly, at the very same time, the radar showed what showed that an unidentified object was rapidly approaching the fighters, but the pilots themselves did not see anything visually. The fighters circled over the area for quite some time without seeing anything unusual, and then Air Captain Olaf Larsson accidentally looked down and spotted a metal disc lying 40 to 50 meters in diameter, which was bright enough to stand out among the snowy landscape. Further inspection showed that the disc was damaged and some parts and cables were sticking out of it. The pilots reported the found object upon returning to the base, and then an expedition was sent to the alleged crash site. Later, the German newspaper Saarbrücker Zeitung published a report on what was found. A close inspection of a remotely controlled flying disc that landed on the Nordostland of Spitsbergen due to interference problems led to the following undeniable information. A flying object with a near diameter of 48.88 meters and sloping sides is circular and unmanned. So we're talking about a drone, a circular saucer type drone. Or at least maybe unmanned because the little green man got away. I don't know. A round steel object made from an unknown metallic compound resembles a silver disc. Now, after ignition, 46 equally spaced automatic nozzles on the outer ring rotate the disc around a central plexiglass ball that contains measurement and control devices for remote control. The measuring instruments bear Russian symbols. The radius of the disc seems to be more than 30,000 kilometers and the altitude is more than 160 kilometers. The flying object, which resembles one of the legendary flying saucers, has enough space for high explosive bombs. Now, it is said that in the wreckage of the apparatus, the experts discovered a radio pilot transmitter with a plutonium nucleus transmitting at all wavelengths at a frequency of 934 hertz. Wouldn't it have been cool if it had been 936? That'd have been all of Tesla's numbers, right? Which was still unknown. Now, the investigation also showed that the flying saucer crashed due to a malfunction of the radio pilot system. And there was no crew in the saucer. Norwegian experts suggested that the disc started from the Soviet Union and fell over Svalbard due to an error in transmission or reception, failing due to a hard landing. The bizarre remote-controlled unnamed jet plane will be brought to Narvik aboard a ship for further investigation. So it is possible that some kind of Soviet experimental aircraft, but the story continues to develop. As more and more people become aware of this, new details emerged, such as a report by Colonel Gernod Darnhill of the Norwegian General Staff. So it says some time ago, a misunderstanding arose when they said that the flying disc was probably of Soviet origin. However, we must categorically state that it was not built by any country on Earth. These materials are completely unknown to all experts. They are either not on Earth or they are processed by physical or chemical processes unknown to us. We must tell the public what we know about the unknown flying objects. Inappropriate secrecy can lead to panic one day. And we now have material to start with. This means that laboratories can get started right away and can provide us with a preliminary result soon. Norwegian scientists believe that the material from Svalbard can only reveal its secrets through nuclear fission. This is because it does not change at absolute zero when the air is liquefied, nor at the highest temperatures technically possible with our technology. All types of chemical treatments have also been tested, and scientific results will be published only after the conference on UFOs in London or Washington. There's not much else to go. It says everything about the crash object seemed more and more, everything about the crashed object became more and more with the passage of time. Soon there were more fantastic stories surrounding the alleged UFO disaster, such as a report in the Uruguayan newspaper El Nacional from Montevideo. Now, Sidvich, we're talking about the Svalbard UFOs here. Very interesting. This report claimed that the Norwegian scientist Hans Larsen Loberg made it clear that the ship actually crashed on the German island of Helgoland in the North Sea and was definitely not Soviet, as it did not have a discernible engine or any rivets, fuses, or bolts, and the object was supposedly powered by magnetic forces. Now that's very interesting. I'm going to show you something in a moment before I wrap this up. And it's going to be something we're going to go and take a deep dive on in a later stream, okay? But it says Loberg has allegedly stated that there were some beam weapons on board the ship, as well as the remains of real humanoid bodies. Not robotoid, but humanoid. I'm having a laugh because I hope Jimmy's still around. The material used was as light as aluminium or aluminum, depending where you're from, but much harder and probably much more heat resistant. From the things that they found inside, they noticed water, which was 3 times heavier than regular water, and a few pills that might have been food. Now, heavy water is something that you come to find out is actually quite a big constituent of making a nuclear bang bang. You need heavy water. In fact, I believe that the Germans themselves were making heavy water in Norway. I believe there was a dam, a power station that was responsible for that. Right, sorry, it was Anne shouted me for something there, folks. Thank you, Annie. But I'll need to look into that because I'm kind of going off the top of my head. But there was also an apparatus that was probably a radio. It was rather small and did not have an antenna. They also found several books, probably navigational instructions, written in a completely unknown language. Now, the doors of the spacecraft were open. Just outside the doors were 7 bodies, burned beyond recognition. And according to Larsen Loberg, scientists are of the opinion that the bodies belong to men between the ages of 25 and 30 and about a height of 165 meters or 1.65 meters, all had perfect teeth. The reason I'm laughing is I got measured up the hospital yesterday and I am 1.65 meters. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the size of an alien or at least a human that can fit inside a flying saucer to pilot it. It's always good news. There you go. Sidvich is saying they made heavy water before the Germans came. See, I knew I was on the right track, Sid. I knew it. Well, I can't say anymore that I don't know if I'm going mad or not, because today has proven one thing: I could be going mad. So it says after that, the whole story becomes very vague, and there was nothing that could confirm any of the above. Over the decades, various versions of what happened were put forward, which could not give a single logical explanation. This sounds very much like a Roswell type incident that not many people have heard of, right? Right? And before I leave you today, let me bring up the thing that we're going to get into maybe on the next stream. It's something I found when I was looking today at the whole UFO stuff. I was looking at the work of Mick West and what he had been saying about that video. And he makes a good case for that being nothing more than something very, very explainable. And if it is explainable, then why on earth are the Pentagon telling us that that's the real deal? It's an interesting one. But here's the site that we're going to come and we're going to take a really good deep dive on this. If it's not tomorrow, it could be either Friday. I might even do a Saturday stream because I'm really keen to go through all of what we've got on here. Now, this is called UAPtheory.com. It says a fundamental explanation of unidentified aerial phenomenon. The reason we made a website for this is due to its importance and to inform everyone. Share it. We present a theory of how UAPs work that explains everything one can observe about them. By understanding them, we can also explain their origin and nature, and we aim to settle the matter once and for all. And it says the structure of this page follows the scientific method: data, hypothesis, predictions, observations. And like I say, we're going to go through all of this. Do you know why? Because this is one of the most detailed, compelling theories on how things like, say, the propulsion systems of things like the Tic Tac, or some of these other craft that we hear about making maneuvers that just can't be explained with our current avionics and the way we understand physics. Well, in here, they do an absolutely fantastic job. There's so much in here, but they get into how all these effects, all of these different effects and things, and they take apart some of the footage. They explain what some of the effects are we're looking at, and how that could tie in to their theory. What would you call it? A unified theory of UAP propulsion? I don't know, but it's pretty cool. We've got the fundamental theory. It gets into something called geodesics, or geodesics, I think you pronounce it. And it says geodesics are the trajectories upon which a UAP has to move in order to be possible, as discussed on our main page. And a geodesic is a straight line on a curved geometry, which means it has no turns. Such a line may not look straight, but it is. Examples of geodesics: the trajectory of a baseball thrown to the moon. There is no air friction, it says. The motions of all objects in space, such as orbits of moons, planets, and asteroids, and the orbit of space stations, space debris, and satellites. It's something we're going to get into, folks, but I have run out of time. I have run out of time, ladies and gents. Yeah. But not totally, because I've only run out of time on the live stream. We have got 2 hours of controversial, hard-hitting, 3 real dudes talking the way that 3 real dudes used to talk, with a very open mind, and we will be taking no prisoners, and it'll be Charlie Robinson, Jimmy Jeans, and Dave Baker live in 11 minutes, so I better get the hell out of here. So until next time, folks, 11 minutes, or until tomorrow, whenever you can make it, wherever you are, you know what's coming. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.